when a shy, disabled boy was given the courage to lead. He didn't just dance, he changed the hearts of everyone watching, including a billionaire father who had never seen him shine. Emma Ruiz had always loved dancing, but her life had been far from glamorous. She ran a small dance studio in her hometown, teaching children and adults of all abilities. Her classes were known not only for their technical precision, but also for the warmth and patience she showed every student. People often said that Emma had a way of seeing the best in everyone, even when they didn't see it in themselves. It was that kindness and understanding that had caught the attention of someone she never expected, a billionaire named Nathan Cole. Nathan Cole was a man whose life seemed like it belonged in magazines. He lived in a massive estate, traveled the world, and rarely attended public events. Everyone knew him as a private and distant figure, especially when it came to his 10-year-old son Liam. Liam had cerebral palsy, which affected his movement and coordination, and he had always been a very private child. Nathan rarely allowed cameras or public attention near Liam. Most people assumed the boy lived a quiet life behind the walls of his father's mansion, shielded from the public eye. One morning, Emma received an unexpected invitation. It was elegant, almost intimidating, written on thick cardstock with golden lettering. The message was simple. She had been requested to conduct a short dance workshop at a charity gala hosted by Nathan Cole. At first, LA thought it was a mistake. A billionaire had noticed her. She laughed at the idea, assuming it must have been a mix-up. But the invitation was very real, and soon, she found herself preparing for an event she never imagined attending. Emma spent the next few days thinking about the gala. She wondered why Nathan would specifically request her. Did he know her from somewhere? Was it her adaptive dance classes that had somehow caught his eye? She had been uploading short videos of her students dancing online, showcasing how she worked with children of all abilities. Maybe he had seen them. But the idea of entering a world so different from her own, a world filled with wealth and high society, made her nervous. When the night of the gala arrived, Emma felt completely out of place. The venue was a magnificent ballroom, glittering with chandeliers and filled with elegantly dressed guests. Everyone seemed to move with an effortless grace, chatting in hushed, polite tones. Emma, in her simple dress and practical shoes, felt as if she had stepped into a different universe. But despite the grandeur, she remained focused on her purpose, helping the children, especially those like Liam. To feel confident and free through dance, it wasn't long before she realized why she had been invited. Nathan had been watching her work for months, studying her videos and reading about her adaptive dance programs. He had searched for someone who could connect with his son, someone who could bring joy and confidence into a space where Liam usually felt hesitant. Nathan, who had spent countless hours worrying about his son's future, believed Emma was the right person to help Liam find his own expression. When Emma finally met Liam, she saw a boy who was quiet, reserved, and very cautious with strangers. He moved slowly, carefully choosing every step, and his eyes darted around nervously. Most adults, she thought, would be intimidated or unsure how to interact with him. But Emma had a different approach. She knelt to his level and smiled warmly. "Would you like to show me how you like to move?" she asked gently. It wasn't a demand or a suggestion of what he should do. It was an invitation, and there was something in her calm, patient tone that made Liam look at her with curiosity instead of fear. For a moment he hesitated. Then slowly, Liam lifted his arm, a small but significant gesture. Emma mirrored him, moving gently in response to his motion. It was not a perfect dance by any means, but it was theirs. A connection was forming, one built on respect, patience, and understanding rather than instructions or expectations. Emma allowed Liam to set the pace, to take the lead, and in doing so, she created a space where he could feel safe. Nathan watched from a distance, his eyes fixed on his son. He had never seen Liam move so freely in public, never seen him smile without reservation. A mixture of pride and astonishment washed over him. For so long, he had been worried about what Liam could or could not do, always measuring every action against limitations. But in this moment, those worries seemed irrelevant. All that mattered was the joy and confidence that radiated from his son as he led the dance. Other guests began to notice too. Whispers spread through the ballroom as people realized that Liam, the usually reserved boy, was taking the lead in the dance. There was a subtle, almost magical shift in the atmosphere. The elegance and formality of the gala faded into the background, replaced by something more authentic, more human. People were captivated, not by wealth or status, but by the courage and joy of a child expressing himself freely. Emma continued to follow Liam's lead, matching his movements with care and attention. She knew that for a child with cerebral palsy, every step, every gesture required effort and bravery. She encouraged him silently with her presence, letting him feel that he could guide, that he had control over the moment. Liam's confidence grew with each movement, and for the first time in a public setting, he laughed a sound that was bright, pure, and infectious. The night, which had begun as an intimidating plunge into an unfamiliar world, had transformed into something extraordinary. Emma had not just taught a dance workshop. She had created a connection, a bridge between a boy and the world around him. Nathan, who had been so guarded and private, found himself moved in ways he hadn't expected. Emma's patience, kindness, respect had not only reached Liam, but had also touched him deeply. By the end of the evening, Emma realized that the gala was about much more than charity or appearances. It was about moments of courage, connection, and unexpected joy. And for Nathan and Liam, it was the beginning of a journey that would change their lives. A simple invitation, a gentle question, and a willingness to let a child take the lead had created a memory that no amount of wealth or prestige could ever replace. Emma had learned long ago that dancing was not just about steps and rhythm. It was about connection. That night, in the grand ballroom filled with glittering chandeliers and elegantly dressed guests, she wanted Liam to feel that connection too. She stayed close, moving with him rather than ahead of him, letting his gestures guide her. Each movement Liam made was small, sometimes barely noticeable, but Emma responded to each one with careful attention. A slight tilt of his head became a gentle turn. A tiny lift of his hand became a sweeping motion across the floor. She mirrored him not to correct, but to celebrate, showing him that his choices mattered. At first, Liam was tentative. He had been in social settings before, but always in the shadows, always feeling watched. The presence of so many unfamiliar faces and the pressure of being in a public space could have been overwhelming. But Emma's calm and encouraging presence was like a shield around him, giving him the freedom to experiment without fear. Slowly, he began to move more confidently. His arms stretched a little farther, his steps became more deliberate, and the tension in his shoulders eased. The connection between them was quiet but powerful, wordless conversation happening entirely through movement. Nathan watched from a distance, unable to take his eyes off his son. He had seen Liam's progress at home and in therapy sessions, but seeing it unfold in public was something entirely different. The boy who often shrank from attention was now the center of a unique moment, one that was drawing the eyes and admiration of everyone in the room. Nathan felt a swell of emotions he had long kept under control: pride, relief, and something deeper, almost awe at seeing his son express himself so freely. He had worried for years about Liam's self-confidence, about how he would navigate a world that could be unforgiving. But in that moment, he saw a spark of courage that reassured him. Other guests began to notice as well. Some whispered quietly to each other, pointing out the small, almost imperceptible steps Liam was taking. They were not traditional dance moves, but there was an elegance and authenticity in every gesture. Emma made it look effortless, but it required intense focus and sensitivity. She had to anticipate Liam's movements without leading him, react to him without stepping on his confidence, and create a rhythm together without forcing it. It was a delicate balance, and the result was mesmerizing. For Liam, the experience was transformative. Each time Emma mirrored him, he felt a sense of control and empowerment. He was not being told what to do or how to move. He was leading, and she was following. The realization that he could guide someone else, even an adult, was new and thrilling. He began to move more boldly, experimenting with wider gestures and bigger steps. The ballroom, once intimidating, became a space of possibility. He smiled more openly, laughed quietly, and for the first time that evening, felt the pure joy of self-expression without hesitation. Emma noticed the small victories. A slight lift of Liam's foot, a careful pivot. The way he held his posture with newfound confidence, each movement was a celebration. She encouraged him with her eyes, her body, and subtle nods. Every small success built momentum, and Liam began to feed off the positive energy around him. The guests, initially hesitant to intrude, began to watch with fascination and admiration. They realized that this was not a performance meant to entertain them, but a moment of genuine connection between a teacher and a child, a parent and a child. Nathan could hardly believe what he was witnessing. He had always wanted Liam to have moments like this, moments where he could shine on his own terms, moments where he could feel proud of his abilities rather than defined by his limitations. Seeing his son lead, even in such small ways, was a revelation. Nathan felt both awe and gratitude toward Emma. She had a rare gift, not just for teaching dance, but for understanding the humanity of each child she worked with. She had found a way to bring Liam out of his shell without pushing, without pressure, simply by letting him take the lead. As the music continued, Liam grew more adventurous. He began to experiment with the rhythm, sometimes moving slightly ahead or behind the beat, sometimes adding gestures that were entirely his own. Emma adjusted seamlessly, keeping the flow natural and encouraging. The room seemed to fade away. It was just the two of them, communicating through movement, discovering joy in a shared language. Each step Liam took was a triumph over self-doubt and physical challenges, and each time Emma responded, it reinforced his confidence. By this time, whispers of admiration were spreading through the crowd. Guests were captivated, watching a child with disabilities command the attention of an entire room without speaking a word. Some reached for their phones, wanting to capture the moment. But Emma subtly shook her head to remind them this was about Liam, not publicity. The magic of the evening was in the authenticity of his leadership and the genuine connection that Emma had nurtured. Liam's progress was also emotional for Nathan. He felt an unexpected mixture of pride and relief, realizing that his son was capable of so much more than he had imagined. He had worried that Liam's physical challenges would always limit him, that social situations would always be stressful or discouraging. But seeing Liam take control, even in a simple dance, gave Nathan hope for the future. He silently vowed to create more opportunities for his son to express himself and to be seen for who he truly was. It's not just for his limitations. The bond between Emma and Liam deepened with every movement. She could sense when he was nervous or hesitant and adjusted her own movements to match his comfort level. She could see the moments when he was taking a risk, trying something new, and she celebrated those moments with subtle encouragement. It was a dance of trust, built on patience and respect, and it was a revelation to everyone watching. By the end of the song, Liam was laughing openly, completely immersed in the moment. He had forgotten about the guests, the cameras, and the grandeur of the gala. He was simply dancing, guided by his instincts, and supported by Emma's steady presence. Nathan approached cautiously, afraid to disturb the fragile confidence Liam had found. But Emma subtly gestured for him to watch rather than intervene. For once, Liam's experience was entirely his own. The transformation in Liam was remarkable. A child who often hid from attention was now moving with self-assurance, showing creativity and leading an adult in a shared dance. Emma had not just taught him steps. She had given him a sense of agency, a way to feel capable and proud in front of others. Nathan felt a deep gratitude toward Emma, understanding that her patience, sensitivity, and skill had made this possible. As the music faded, Liam took a small bow toward Emma, a gesture of acknowledgement and pride. Emma responded with a warm smile, signaling that he had done something remarkable. Guests erupted in applause, moved not only by the dance, but by the courage and authenticity of the moment. The gala, which had started as an elegant social event, had become a stage for something far more powerful: the triumph of confidence, connection, and human spirit. Emma had always believed that dance could change lives, but that night, she witnessed it firsthand in the most profound way. Liam had led, Nathan had witnessed, and the room had collectively experienced the quiet power of allowing a child to express himself fully. It was a moment that would remain with all of them forever, a testament to the extraordinary impact of patience, respect, and genuine human connection. The music in the ballroom swelled, filling the grand space with a rich, warm melody. Emma and Liam moved in harmony, though Liam was still the one leading. Each movement he made was small, deliberate, and filled with purpose. Yet there was an unspoken bravery in the way he carried himself. For Liam, this was more than dancing. It was a test of courage. He had always been careful, hesitant in public, worried about mistakes or stares. Tonight, under Emma's patient guidance, he was experiencing something completely new, the freedom to take the lead without fear. At first, he took simple steps, shifting his weight from one foot to another, raising his arms just slightly, tilting his head. Emma mirrored him exactly, careful not to overwhelm or take over. She had learned that her role was not to lead, but to reflect, to give Liam confidence that he could control the moment. The two of them moved together in a quiet dialogue, a conversation without words. Every small motion Liam made was a statement of independence, and Emma celebrated it with her own movement, letting him feel that his choices were important and valid. Guests in the ballroom began to notice the grand event, which had been filled with polite conversations and polite applause for pre-planned performances, slowly shifted in energy. All eyes turned toward Liam as he moved with a quiet determination. People whispered to each other, expressing surprise and admiration. Some were shocked that a child with cerebral palsy could lead an adult in such a graceful display. Others felt deeply moved, realizing that this was not just a dance, it was an expression of courage and self-belief. For Liam, this was a transformative moment. The confidence he had felt growing in part two now expanded. He experimented more boldly with his gestures, stretching his arms further, taking slightly larger steps.
All right.
And even attempting small spins that required balance and precision. Emma followed closely, matching his pace and energy, subtly guiding when necessary, but always allowing him to make the decisions. Each successful movement reinforced his confidence. For the first time in a public space, he felt a true sense of control over his body and his actions. Nathan, watching from across the room, could hardly contain his emotions. He had spent years worrying about how Liam would navigate the world, fearing that his son's physical challenges would limit his opportunities. But now, seeing Liam take the lead so confidently, Nathan felt an overwhelming mixture of pride, relief, and astonishment. He realized that his son was capable of more than he had ever imagined. The boy who had often withdrawn from attention was now the center of admiration. Guiding the dance with courage and poise, Emma noticed the subtle shifts in Liam's confidence. Each time he attempted a more daring movement, she responded with encouragement not verbal, but through motion, eye contact, and gentle nods. She created a safe environment in which he could take risks without fear of failure. The dance became a collaboration built entirely on trust. Liam began to understand that he could lead and that others would follow, that he could express himself freely, and that mistakes were simply part of the learning process. As the music built to its climax, Emma gradually stepped back, giving Liam even more space to take center stage. He hesitated at first, unsure if he was ready, but then, inspired by Emma's trust and his own growing confidence, he moved forward. Every eye in the room was on him now, but he did not falter. He extended his arms, took a careful step, and performed a small, controlled spin. The room fell silent, the only sound being the music and the subtle movement of Liam's body. Guests watched, captivated. As a child who had often felt limited and insecure, now commanded attention through his courage and creativity. Nathan's heart raced. He instinctively moved closer, ready to support Liam if needed. But Emma gently shook her head, signaling that this was his moment. Nathan realized that for Liam to grow, he needed to trust his own abilities. Watching his son take the lead in such a public setting was both thrilling and nerve-wracking. The pride he felt was immense, but it was accompanied by awe at Liam's bravery. Liam's confidence grew with each motion. He added small, spontaneous gestures, twisting his hands, shifting his weight, tilting his head in ways that expressed joy and personality. Emma responded instantly, reflecting his creativity back to him, reinforcing that his ideas were valid. The ballroom, once dominated by formal chatter and social posturing, transformed into a space of genuine human connection. Guests were mesmerized not by wealth or status, but by the authenticity of Liam's expression and the beauty of Emma's supportive presence. The atmosphere shifted as other children in the room began to watch with wide eyes. Some whispered to their parents, inspired by the courage of a boy leading an adult in dance. Others smiled quietly, understanding that they, too, could find ways to express themselves confidently. Emma's approach had created not just a moment of personal triumph for Liam, but a ripple effect that touched everyone present. Nathan, usually so reserved and composed, found himself unable to look away. He felt tears sting his eyes as he realized the significance of what was happening. His son was not only dancing, but leading, creating beauty and inspiring others simply by being himself. Nathan silently thanked Emma, understanding that her patience, skill, and empathy had made this possible. Without her gentle guidance, Liam might never have experienced this newfound freedom and joy. As the final notes of the song approached, Liam executed a final gesture, a small bow toward Emma. It was not just a bow. It was a statement of pride, acknowledgement, and trust. Emma responded with a warm smile, signaling that he had done something extraordinary. The guests erupted into applause, moved not by a choreographed performance, but by the courage, creativity, and authenticity displayed before them. The transformation in Liam was remarkable. A child who had often withdrawn in social situations was now expressing himself freely and confidently. He had experienced the joy of leadership, the thrill of creativity, and the satisfaction of self-expression. Emma had not just facilitated a dance. She had nurtured confidence, independence, and courage. Nathan approached Liam cautiously, afraid to disturb the fragile confidence his son had found. But Liam, encouraged by Emma's presence, stood tall and proud. Nathan could see the spark of joy and self-assurance in his son's eyes, and he felt a deep gratitude toward Emma. She had given Liam more than a dance. She had given him a sense of agency, the belief that he could take control, and the confidence to express himself in a way that was uniquely his own. By the end of the song, the ballroom was buzzing with admiration and emotion. The gala, which had begun as an elegant social gathering, had transformed into a celebration of human courage, connection, and authenticity. Liam had led, Emma had supported, and Nathan had witnessed a moment that would remain etched in his memory forever. Emma, for her part, felt a deep satisfaction. She had seen the power of dance not just as an art form, but as a means of empowerment. She had watched a boy overcome fear and hesitation, taking control and expressing himself with confidence. It was a reminder of why she had chosen this path to help others find their voice, their movement, and their courage. The evening ended with Liam glowing, Nathan emotional, and the guests inspired. No one would forget the sight of a small boy leading a dance, moving with courage and authenticity, supported by a teacher who understood the true meaning of guidance. It was a moment of pure human connection, one that would shape Liam's confidence and Nathan's understanding of his son's capabilities for years to come. Nathan had never expected that a simple dance could move him so deeply. He had always been a man of control, someone who managed his life and business with precision, careful not to show vulnerability in public. But tonight was different. Watching his son Liam express himself freely and lead with such courage, Nathan felt emotions he had long kept buried: pride, love, awe, and something closer to humility. The transformation in Liam was more than physical. It was emotional and psychological. Nathan realized he had been witnessing a miracle unfold before his eyes. Emma's gentle guidance had created space where Liam could be himself without fear of judgment. Every movement Liam made, every small gesture, carried with it the confidence and creativity he rarely got to express publicly. Nathan watched as his son twirled slightly, lifted his arms, and made subtle, unique motions, each one commanding attention without needing words. The ballroom, filled with high society guests, accustomed to luxury and spectacle, had become silent, all eyes drawn to this extraordinary moment of human connection. Nathan's heart swelled with pride, but it was accompanied by a feeling he rarely allowed himself to experience: vulnerability. He found himself stepping closer, instinctively wanting to support Liam, to guide him, to make sure nothing went wrong. But Emma's reassuring presence stopped him. She subtly shook her head, her eyes conveying a clear message. Let Liam be. Nathan realized that for Liam to truly grow, he needed to take ownership of this moment. Every careful step, every lift of the arm, every subtle pivot was Liam's achievement, not his father's. Nathan had been a protector for so long, always trying to anticipate every challenge and shield Liam from disappointment. But this moment required a different kind of courage from both father and son. Nathan had to trust Liam's abilities and let him shine independently. Liam, sensing Emma's support and Nathan's watchful presence, began to move even more confidently. He experimented with variations in his steps, trying motions he had never attempted before. Emma matched him perfectly, reflecting his creativity without dictating it. The two of them were completely in sync, a beautiful dialogue of trust and expression unfolding on the dance floor. Every time Liam succeeded in a movement, his small smile grew brighter, and the pride in his eyes mirrored the emotions Nathan felt inside. Guests in the ballroom were captivated. Many whispered in amazement, commenting on the courage and determination of a child leading an adult in dance. Some felt tears welling in their eyes, moved by the authenticity and bravery on display. Unlike a typical gala performance, which was often rehearsed and polished, this moment was raw, real, and profoundly human. Liam's bravery inspired everyone present, showing that true strength is not measured by wealth, status, or perfection, but by the courage to express oneself fully and without fear. Nathan, who rarely displayed his emotions in public, found himself unable to hide his tears. He wiped them quickly, feeling a mix of astonishment and gratitude. He had always worried about Liam's confidence, about how the world would perceive his son, and about the limitations that his condition might impose. But seeing Liam lead, taking risks, and expressing himself with creativity and joy, Nathan realized that these fears, while understandable, had underestimated his son's inner strength. Liam was teaching him, in that moment, about courage, independence, and the power of trust. Emma's influence was undeniable. She had not only taught Liam to dance, but she had nurtured his self-confidence and independence. Her patient, empathetic approach created a space where Liam could take risks safely and be celebrated for his efforts. Nathan understood that this moment was possible only because of Emma's skill and kindness. She had the rare ability to guide without controlling, to encourage without pushing, and to create trust where it was most needed. Nathan felt a deep gratitude toward her, knowing that she had given Liam an experience that would shape his confidence and self-belief for years to come. As the music reached its crescendo, Liam performed a movement that was both daring and graceful, a small spin that required balance, precision, and courage. Emma followed seamlessly, providing support without overshadowing him. The room held its collective breath. Nathan's chest tightened with emotion as he saw his son succeed, completing the spin with a triumphant smile. It was a moment of pure victory, not just in dance, but in self-expression and courage. The applause that followed was thunderous, but Nathan's focus remained solely on Liam. In the midst of the celebration, Nathan approached Emma, moved by what he had witnessed. He thanked her, but his words went beyond simple gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "for giving my son back a piece of himself." Emma, ever humble, nodded with a soft smile, understanding the depth of his sentiment. She had not just led a dance. She had restored a sense of confidence, independence, and joy to a child who had long needed it. Nathan's reaction was genuine, heartfelt, and uncharacteristically public. For the first time in a social setting, those around him saw the vulnerability and love he felt for Liam. Liam, still glowing with accomplishment, looked up at Emma and then at his father. There was a new confidence in his eyes, a sense of pride that was unmistakable. Nathan knelt slightly, placing his hands on Liam's shoulders, not to guide him, but to connect, to acknowledge this moment as a shared victory. He whispered softly, words that were private yet carried immense weight. "I'm so proud of you." Liam's smile widened, and for a moment the world outside the ballroom faded away. The impact of this evening extended beyond Liam and Nathan. Guests were inspired by the courage they had witnessed, many reflecting on their own lives and the ways they could allow others, especially children, to take the lead. They saw that true strength and beauty often come from vulnerability, trust, and the willingness to let someone else shine. Emma's approach had not only empowered Liam, but it had also created a ripple effect, touching everyone in the room and leaving a lasting impression after the applause subsided. Nathan invited Emma and Liam to a private area of the gala. He wanted them to have a quiet moment, to reflect on what had just happened, without the pressure of the crowd. Liam beamed with pride, feeling recognized and supported in a way he rarely experienced. Nathan expressed his gratitude again, emphasizing how profoundly Emma had impacted his son's confidence. He wanted Liam to continue these experiences, to grow in self-assurance, and to feel the joy of taking the lead in moments big and small. That night, Nathan realized something important about himself as well. He had spent so many years protecting his son that he had sometimes overlooked the value of letting Liam explore, make choices, and lead. Emma had shown him the power of trust and patience, demonstrating that the greatest gift a parent can give is the opportunity to let their child shine independently. Nathan felt a renewed sense of purpose, determined to create more opportunities for Liam to develop confidence, creativity, and leadership. The evening ended with Liam exhausted but exhilarated, Nathan emotional and reflective, and Emma quietly proud of the impact she had made. It was a night that none of them would ever forget, a night that had transformed Liam's confidence, Nathan's understanding of his son's abilities, and the perception of every guest who witnessed it. For Nathan, the lesson was clear: allowing Liam to lead, supporting him without overshadowing, celebrating his courage, was far more powerful than any protection or control he could ever offer. In that ballroom, under the sparkling lights and the soft hum of music, something extraordinary had occurred. A child had led a dance, a teacher had guided with empathy, and a father had witnessed the true potential of his son. Nathan's tears, his gratitude, and his emotional openness were a testament to the profound impact of this moment. It was not just a dance, it was a celebration of courage, trust, connection, and the incredible possibilities that emerge when someone is given the freedom to lead. After the music faded and the final applause echoed through the grand ballroom, the atmosphere remained electric. Guests were still buzzing, whispering about the extraordinary scene they had just witnessed. Liam, exhausted but glowing with pride, clung slightly to Emma's hand, feeling a sense of accomplishment unlike anything he had ever experienced. For him, the night had been a journey from hesitation and doubt to joy, confidence, and the thrill of leading a dance. Emma smiled at him, her eyes reflecting quiet pride. She had seen many students grow, but something about Liam's courage and openness that night made the moment feel unforgettable. Nathan watched them closely, still overwhelmed with emotion. His son had not only danced but had led, and in doing so had revealed a depth of strength and confidence Nathan had long hoped to see. He approached Emma, his usual reserved demeanor replaced with sincerity and warmth. "You've changed his world tonight," he said softly, his voice shaking slightly. "I don't know how to thank you enough." Emma simply nodded, humble as always, recognizing that it was not her doing alone. It had been Liam's courage, her patience, and the trust they had built together that had made the evening so remarkable. The impact of the night did not end with the applause. Within hours, several guests shared clips and stories of Liam leading the dance across social media. The video quickly went viral, inspiring families around the world who had children with disabilities. Comments poured in from people expressing admiration, encouragement, and gratitude. Many shared their own stories of children who had been shy, hesitant, or overlooked, thanking Emma and Liam for showing that confidence and joy could blossom with patience and support. The ripple effect was astonishing. Emma's dance program, already respected in her community, suddenly received an influx of interest and support. Donations and messages of encouragement poured in, allowing her to expand her adaptive dance classes to more children than ever before. Families from neighboring towns reached out, eager for their children to experience the same kind of empowerment that Liam had found. Emma's mission to give children confidence through movement had taken on a new, far-reaching significance. What began as a small personal effort had grown into a movement that touched countless lives. Nathan, for his part, had begun to rethink the way he approached parenting. He had always been protective, wanting to shield Liam from disappointment and public scrutiny. But witnessing his son led on the dance floor had been transformative. He realized that true growth came from opportunities, from trust, and from allowing Liam to make choices, take risks, and express himself authentically. He vowed to provide his son with more experiences that encouraged independence and confidence, understanding that these moments were far more valuable than the comfort of control. Liam, meanwhile, carried a new sense of pride and accomplishment. He began to move more freely, both in private and in public, experimenting with gestures and steps he had never attempted before. The confidence he gained that night spilled into other areas of his life. He spoke more openly, tried new activities, and even interacted more confidently with peers. For Liam, the dance had been more than just movement. It had been an awakening, a realization of his abilities and his right to express himself fully. Emma continued to work with Liam regularly, expanding on the progress they had made at the gala. She noticed how he experimented with new steps, how he led others in small exercises, and how his smile and laughter became more frequent. The teacher-student bond they shared grew stronger with every session. Emma's presence remained gentle and supportive, allowing Liam to explore his creativity and independence without fear of failure. Their relationship was no longer just about dance. It had become a source of empowerment and trust that shaped Liam's self-confidence in profound ways. Nathan, inspired by the impact of that single evening, began to involve himself more actively in Liam's growth. He arranged private sessions with Emma, encouraged Liam to try new forms of movement, and even joined in on occasional practices himself, allowing father and son to bond through shared experience. Nathan realized that supporting Liam was not just about providing protection, but about creating opportunities, celebrating effort, and fostering independence. He watched with pride as his son flourished under Emma's guidance, understanding that the courage displayed on the dance floor had unlocked a potential he had long hoped to see. The gala's influence extended beyond just Emma, Liam, and Nathan. Families, teachers, and caregivers were inspired to rethink how they supported children with disabilities. They saw that patience, trust, and encouragement could achieve remarkable results. Stories of Liam leading Emma on the dance floor became lessons in empathy and empowerment, reminding people that every child has strengths waiting to be nurtured. The impact of that moment continued to grow, reaching far beyond the walls of the ballroom and touching lives in ways no one had anticipated. Despite all the attention and admiration, Emma remained focused on what mattered most: Liam's growth. She encouraged him to keep experimenting, to embrace challenges, and to trust his instincts. Each small victory built upon the last, reinforcing the confidence Liam had discovered at the gala. He learned not only to lead in dance, but also to approach life with curiosity, courage, and self-belief. The night had been transformative, but the lessons it imparted continued to resonate in every movement he made afterward. Nathan, reflecting on the events of the evening, realized that the gala had taught him something profound about love, trust, and parenting. He had spent years protecting his son from the world, fearing failure and disappointment. But that night, he learned that giving Liam the freedom to lead, to express himself, and to take risks was the most meaningful gift he could offer. It was a lesson that extended beyond dance. It was about nurturing independence, celebrating individuality, and allowing children to shine on their own terms. In the weeks and months that followed, Liam continued to surprise everyone with his confidence and creativity. He participated in new activities, engaged with peers more openly, and even began to mentor younger children in Emma's classes. Nathan watched with pride, often reflecting on the night that had sparked this transformation. He remained deeply grateful to Emma knowing that her patience, empathy, and guidance had unlocked a world of possibilities for his son, Emma. Though humbled by the attention and praise, focused on the larger mission, she continued to expand her adaptive dance programs, reaching more children and families, ensuring that each child had the opportunity to discover their confidence through movement. The gala had been a turning point, but for Emma, it was only the beginning of a journey to inspire and empower children everywhere. The legacy of that night became a source of inspiration, not just for Liam and Nathan, but for everyone who witnessed or heard about it. It was a story about courage, trust, and the transformative power of support. Liam's leadership on the dance floor had become a symbol of possibility, a reminder that with patience, encouragement, and belief in oneself, remarkable things could happen in the end. The gala was remembered not for its grandeur, the celebrities in attendance, or the luxurious decorations, but for the simple, extraordinary act of a child leading with confidence and a teacher who allowed him to shine. Nathan, Emma, and Liam shared a bond forged through that moment, one that would continue to shape their lives. And for Liam, the night became a cornerstone memory, a night that taught him the joy of leadership, the value of trust, and the thrill of embracing his own potential. Even years later, people would recount the story of that gala, a boy who had once hesitated, a teacher who had guided with empathy, and a father who had witnessed the power of allowing his child to lead. The lessons of that night, the courage, confidence, and human connection continued to inspire, reminding everyone that sometimes the smallest steps on a dance floor could lead to the greatest transformations in life.